You know, in the legal world, some of the most important lessons aren't taught in a classroom. They're learned the hard way in a courtroom. Today, we are digging into a case that every aspiring lawyer in the Philippines needs to know, Aguirre versus Rana. This isn't just about passing an exam, it's a huge cautionary tale about what it really takes to earn that title attorney.
So picture this. You've just done the impossible. You've passed the bar exams, the toughest academic challenge of your life. You are literally just hours away from taking that final oath. And then, bam, a petition gets filed to stop you in your tracks. Well, this was the reality for Edwin L. Rana, and his story forces us to ask a really tough question. What happens when you're stopped right at the finish line?
All right, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We're going to break this case down just like a legal digest. We'll kick things off with a complaint, then get to the absolute core legal question. After that, we'll look at the Supreme Court's verdict, and this is the most important part, we'll really understand the why behind their final decision.
Okay, let's set the scene. We've got Edwin L. Rana, who has just aced the 2000 bar examinations. I mean, he is on the absolute brink of becoming a full-fledged lawyer. But a last-minute complaint pops up that threatens to completely derail his entire career before it can even get started.
Now, to really get what's going on, you need to know the key players. First up, we have Edwin Rana, the bar passer at the center of this whole thing. Then, there's Donna Marie Aguirre. She's the one who filed the complaint against them. And super important to the story is George Boonin, a local politician who Rana was representing during an election.
The timeline here is everything. I mean, look at these dates. On May 14th and 19th, Rana is already acting like a lawyer. He's filing legal documents. He's representing a client. But the petition against him isn't filed until May 21st, and he's not even supposed to take his oath until the next day, the 22nd. This sequence of events right here is the foundation for the entire case.
So this whole chain of events basically forced the Supreme Court to answer a really fundamental question, one that helps draw the line on what it actually means to practice law.
And here it is, the big question. It's really a two-parter. First, did what Rana did count as practicing law when he wasn't allowed to? And second, if it did, does that mean he doesn't have the good moral character you need to become a lawyer in the first place?
So the facts are on the table. The question is clear. How did the Supreme Court rule? Let's jump right into their initial finding.
The decision was crystal clear. The court completely agreed with its own investigative team, the Office of the Bar Confidant. And their finding was, yes, Edwin Rana absolutely engaged in the unauthorized practice of law. But that's just the what. The really interesting part is the why.
And that brings us to the heart of it all, the court's ratio decidendi. Fancy legal term, right? It just means their legal reasoning. So how in the world did they come to this conclusion?
The court started by laying down the rules, looking back at what had been decided before. They made it super clear that the practice of law is an incredibly broad idea. It's not just about arguing in front of a judge, it's also preparing legal documents, managing cases for clients, and giving legal advice.
To put it even more simply, the court says practicing law is basically any activity that needs the unique skills of a lawyer. You know, applying legal knowledge, using legal procedures, and drawing on experience. It seriously doesn't matter if it's happening in a courtroom or in an office.
And right here, you can see the huge problem for Rana. When you put his actions side by side with the legal definition, well, the overlap is impossible to ignore. He signed documents as counsel. He represented a client. He filed formal legal objections. These are not things someone who just knows a lot about the law does. These are the clear-cut functions of a practicing attorney. So what did Rana miss? The court really hammered this point home. Passing the bar exam is not the finish line. To become a full-fledged lawyer, two more things absolutely must happen. You have to take the lawyer's oath, and you have to sign the roll of attorneys. Only then, and I mean only then, are you given the privilege to practice.
And that was the fatal mistake. Rana had passed the bar, a massive achievement, but he hadn't taken that oath or signed the roll yet. He was presenting himself as a lawyer before he legally was one. The timing, it turns out, was everything.
But this case is about more than just a simple slip-up in timing. The court used this opportunity to reinforce a much deeper idea about what the legal profession is all about.
Wow, this quote from the decision is so powerful. The court is saying, flat out, that being a lawyer is not some automatic right you get for passing a test. It is a privilege. And it's a privilege that's only given to people who prove they have the right moral character. In the court's eyes, integrity is way more important than just knowing the law.
So in the end, the court saw Rana's actions as more than just a mistake. They saw it as a reflection of his character. By calling himself counsel before he was allowed to, he showed that he didn't respect the rules of the profession, and that cast some serious doubt on whether he was morally fit to join it.
So all of this, the facts, the reasoning, the big principles, it all led to one final and pretty harsh conclusion for Edwin Rana. Let's take a look at the court's final order.
And there it is, the ultimate consequence. After all those years of studying, after passing the bar, the judgment was clear and absolute. Edwin L. Rana was denied admission to the Philippine bar. His journey ended on the very last step, all because he started acting like a lawyer just a little too soon.
This case leaves us with a question that goes way beyond the courtroom. You know, for any law student, any paralegal, or really anyone who's ever given a bit of friendly legal advice, this decision is a huge warning. It's a stark reminder that the title attorney isn't just a word, it's a strictly regulated privilege. And that line between just trying to help someone and actually breaking the law, well, it can be a lot finer than you think.